Hi, my name is Vanessa Nakate and I'm a climate activist from Uganda. I have been doing activism since the first week of January 2019. In my activism, I have been doing climate strikes through demonstrations every Friday in front of the Parliament of Uganda, in front of big shopping malls, in front of petrol stations, because I wanted and I still want to demand for action from the leaders. We are seeing very many young people across the world demanding for action. We are seeing the power that is in this global activism. And the message is very clear. The young people want change. The young people want a better future. The young people want to be able to live. Many of us have dreams. Many of us have hopes. We have things that we want to achieve in this world. But how are we sure that we will be able to achieve all these things with a future that is so uncertain? This is why we go to the streets. This is why we continue to protest peacefully and demand for action. The youth movement is a powerful one simply because the youth are direct with their demands. They know what they want, and their demands are very clear. And we are continuously watching the decisions that our leaders are making at the expense of our future. We want to be heard. We want the most affected communities to have their voices listened to, those in the global south. And I'll speak for the continent of Africa. Many young activists demanding for change, but few of them are being listened to. And this needs to change. Because if we do not listen to the people who are the most affected by climate change, then we will not be able to achieve environmental justice. We cannot have climate justice without including every community. Look at our leaders and how they're reacting to this movement. We are seeing so much of talk, so much of promises from them, but little action. And this is very devastating to think that our hopes are continuously being lifted up and then shattered by the decisions that our leaders are making. Look at the international community. And when I say the international community, I'm speaking about Europe. Europe wants to be able to lead the New Deal, the new Green Deal for our planet. But Europe is continuously investing in the fossil fuel industry. So how will you be able to lead when you're continuously investing in the industry that has caused the climate crisis? We are seeing new coal power plants being opened up. These are going to continuously increase on the global emissions in the atmosphere, and we will not be able to keep the temperatures below 2 degrees Celsius. 1.5 degrees Celsius is already bad enough. We are already seeing these impacts in different parts of the world. But if you don't see these impacts affecting you directly, that does not erase the existence of the climate crisis. We don't need talks from our leaders. We don't need promises from the leaders. We want action from them. We want change from them. That is the only way that we'll be able to save the future, to save the planet for the coming generations, to get justice for those who have already lost their lives as a result of climate change. We need the leaders to walk the talk. We are tired of the talking. We now want action. Because climate change is not on break. Climate change never rests. It is continuously destroying very many people's lives. And for those who are responding positively, organizations, businesses, we appreciate that. But we need you to help us pressure the leaders as well. Because at the end of the day, climate change affects us all. You may not be able to see the impacts right now, but one day you could be a victim of the climate crisis. And we need to stop that as soon as possible. The climate crisis has destroyed very many people's lives. In my country, many people heavily depend on agriculture as a source of survival. And climate change threatens many people's farms and crops. With the increasing global temperatures, there is an even distribution of rainfall, bringing about torrential rains, heavy and long dry spells, and people are pushed to a point whereby they have to lose their crops, either because of too much heat or because of flooding, and they're left with nothing. Climate change greatly threatens the availability of food and water for the people in my country, but not just my country, but in those areas that heavily depend on their natural resources for survival, especially in the African continent. We cannot continue to watch people's livelihoods being destroyed. Look at Lake Chad. It has shrunk to 10th its size in just 50 years. But the number of people that continuously depend on this lake is increasing. So we worry about the conflicts that are going to arise because of this. Many of them are going to try and fight for ownership of the water source. And this is going to distract the peace in those regions. What I'm meaning is that if we do not address climate change, then we cannot have peace in some communities, because there will always be a struggle for the resources that are continuously being depleted. Climate change is clearly showing how much people's homes can be destroyed, how much people can be left homeless. We are in a time whereby people are expected to stay at home in order to survive the virus or in order to stop the spread of the virus. But even in this period, climate change is displacing people through floods, and they are left with nothing. So they are exposed to two very, very big challenges. That is climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic. We need to put an end to this, because people cannot have access to the necessities that ensure their livelihoods if we do not stop the climate crisis. Everyone is needed. Wherever you are and whoever you are needed. Crisis doesn't know anyone. It doesn't have a friend. At the end of it all comes after everyone. There is a lot that we need to learn from this pandemic. It has showed that when a crisis escalates, not even class can save you. Not even money can save you. This is something that you need to think about. Because if you think that climate change cannot affect you, then you are wrong. Well, right now, you may not be seeing its impact in your life, But at the end of it all, it will either affect you, affect your children, or your grandchildren. So if you feel like you cannot take action since you are not at risk, then do it for your children, or at least do it for your grandchildren. Because all of us are needed. Earth is our home, Earth is our responsibility, and we all have a part to play. Whether you're a business leader, you have a part to play. At this point, businesses cannot afford not to go sustainable. If you're a teacher, you have a part to play. You can help in educating your students about the conservation of our planet and what they can do in order to save the future. If you are a leader in government, you have a part to play, because at the end of it all we can do is speak, all we can do is demand for action as activists. But we do not have the authority to make those decisions. The authority lies in your hands. You have to choose the people over the profits. You have to choose the planet over the profit. Because your silence doesn't help us. Your inaction doesn't help us. Stop the talk and walk the talk. We need to learn more from science. It has proved that it is true in this pandemic. We need to listen to the science. We need to learn from this crisis and be able to build better. We need a greener recovery for our nations. That is the only way that will make sure that everyone has access to the necessary basic needs. Because we have seen how the COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the vulnerability of many people and many countries. And we need to put an end to this by building better as citizens of this world. We need to respect each other. We need to embrace intergeneration, because at the end of it all, we learn from each other. The old learn from the young, and the young will learn from the old. That is the only way that we'll be able to achieve the change that we are looking for. And we need to listen to every story, because if we don't listen to the stories of the different people from different parts of the world, then we won't be able to get the justice that we need. Remember that every activist has a story to tell. Every story has a solution to give, and every solution has a life to change. Don't forget, the youth are speaking. The youth are showing you the way to go. The youth are giving you direction. But are you going to continuously act blind or deaf at the expense of our lives, at the expense of the future and the coming generations? We cannot compromise the resources of the coming generations. Leaders, you need to do something about this. You could be a leader in government. You could be a business leader. You could be a leader in an organization. All of you are needed in this fight against climate change. We see the Sustainable Development Goals. But one thing you should know is that we cannot eradicate poverty without addressing climate change. We cannot achieve zero hunger without eradicating climate change. We cannot protect the life underwater and the life on land without addressing climate change, plus other goals. What I'm trying to say is that there is interconnection in all these goals. And climate change, in a way, affects the achievement of these goals. That is why you are needed. Your voice is needed. Your platform is needed. Together, we can be able to achieve climate justice and secure the future of the young people and the coming generations. Thank you.